Hello, Gracebridge family. These are interesting times. Last week, we gathered around the table to share the hope that we have together in Jesus. This week, we're just kind of in our own homes. Last week, remember, we took up a special contribution, $6,000 for tornado victims from our little congregation. This week, we're staying home because of fears or scary news from the coronavirus. Our shepherds have tried to listen to community leaders and health officials and the CDC and even our national government and have chosen not to meet as a community this week because of not wanting to spread germs. But we're not canceling church. Right? Church has met in homes and with individuals all around the world every week and for thousands of years. We're not canceling church. We're not going to have a gathering here on Sunday, but we're not canceling church. And we're not doing this out of fear. We're doing it because we want to practice good health practices. See, the problem is sometimes our world is led by fear. Social media and the news seem to thrive on fear, and fear will get clicks on Twitter and on Instagram. But we don't want to be people who fear. Fear is not what we are to be about because our hope is not in this kind of present situation. Our hope is in Jesus. And so we don't want to be people who are led by fear. We want to be people who are always pointing towards God. I was thinking just Friday as we were unloading the moving truck at our new house, and a friend who now, as of Friday, is also a neighbor, was stopped by as he's coming home from work and decided to unload a few things with me. And we were talking about the news and what's going on in Hamilton County. At this point, there had not been a confirmed case yet in Hamilton County. And we were just talking about what the future held and different plans that were happening. And I remember he looked at me and he said, you know, it's kind of scary. However, you and I really have nothing to fear. And it wasn't because he was thinking we're somehow big macho men that couldn't ever get a virus. I mean, we're just as susceptible as anybody else. But he said, our hope is in heaven. And because of that, we have no reason to fear. And it's really easy in our world right now to be scared because we don't know what the future is going to hold. And yet, this is a time for the church to shine, to point people towards hope. Hope that God is still in control. Hope that Jesus did die on the cross and rose from the grave. And hope that God promises to crawl up in the midst of whatever is happening in our world and work it out for good. I've been thinking recently about the story of Joshua and him getting ready to lead the people of Israel after Moses had led them for 40 years. And Joshua takes over right as the community is getting ready to go into the promised land. Remember, Joshua was one of the 12 spies who went into the land 40 years earlier, and he and Caleb had said, yes, we can do this, but the other 10 they were afraid. They said, oh, the people are big, and the enemies are big, and we don't know if God is in that land. So they turned around. And so Joshua is now here, standing, getting ready to lead a people into the promised land, and I'm sure in the back of his mind he's wondering, are these people going to be afraid again? And so repeatedly at the end of the book of Deuteronomy and the beginning of the book of Joshua and others continue to say, be strong and courageous. Do not fear. The Lord your God is with you. That's our message. That's our message, church, to the world. To be strong and courageous and do not fear, for the Lord your God is with you. We still need to practice healthy health habits and wash our hands. And we don't want to be meeting with large groups when those who are much smarter than we are encouraging us not to do that. We want to do what we can as citizens in this world to help make sure this virus doesn't spread. But we also want to remind people there is nothing to fear. God is in control. Now, that doesn't mean that the future is going to necessarily be wonderful. It could be that next Sunday we're meeting together as a group, and it could be that next Sunday we're coming live on video stream again. But either way, God is in control. You know, our national government has called for a day of prayer on Sunday to pray for everything that's happening in our world and especially in our country. And I've been thinking, that's easy for us. We've been praying for 2,000 years. Right? This is not a time for the church to hide in the corners. This is a time for the church to come out and to lead, because we know what to do in scary times, and that's to pray. And so, yes, we want to join our nation in prayer, but we don't just want to join because someone has told us to pray. We want to be the leaders in prayer. And so, church, as you're meeting in your homes today, whether it's just your individual family or whether you get together with 2 or 3 other families, I want to ask you to pray. I want to ask you to pray for those who are already infected with this disease. I want you to pray that their bodies will heal and they'll be able to fight the disease. I want you to pray that whatever thoughts are going through their minds right now, that they will be pointed towards God. Pray for their family members who are scared. I want you to pray for those who are more susceptible, for the very little and for the aged, for those in poor health who if they catch this virus are more likely for it to be severe than just mild. We want to pray for our healthcare workers, those that I'm sure in many ways would rather be staying at home with their families and not going into the hospitals or doctor's offices where they could be getting infected from someone who comes in. Thank you for them. And we want to pray for them that God will strengthen them and encourage them, and that they will serve us well. We want to pray for those who have low economic means, who in a time like this, it is a real struggle. Those that maybe don't have childcare at home, who now have 2 or 3 weeks at least of their children being home from school and need to take care of them. Those who are on hourly jobs who may not be working as much over these next couple of weeks, who if they don't work, they don't get paid. We want to pray for them, and if there are ways that we as a church can help, we want to be able to do that. We want to pray for teachers who are trying to set up lessons online, who've never tried to do this before. We want to pray for business leaders who are trying to help workers be able to work from home. We want to pray for workers who are trying to do their jobs to keep the country moving and the economy moving as best they can, and yet are trying to do it in different ways. And ultimately, we want to pray that God will show up in a mighty way. God promises to always work towards good, and we want to ask and we want to beg for the healer to come in and heal and work for good. Church, I hope we're back together next week. I miss seeing all of you. I miss being able to gather around the table together, but I also am excited to know that even though we won't be face to face, that we are still meeting together as we meet in homes. Grace Bridge doesn't need a building, and Grace Bridge doesn't need 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. When 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, the Lord is there. And so as you gather in your homes with your families, it may be some of the best church maybe that we've ever done. And so be praying, be hoping, be pointing to God. And I'll leave you with this. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he give you peace. Until we meet again. Amen.